What if I told you that some of the most effective garden solutions you could possibly use aren't hiding in the fancy aisles of your local garden center, but sitting right in your kitchen pantry and backyard compost pile? Most people don't know this, but while we're dropping hundreds of dollars every spring on slick marketing promises and chemical quick fixes, our grandparents were growing prize-winning gardens with coffee grounds, crushed eggshells, and techniques that cost practically nothing but work twice as well. I've been gardening for over 2 decades, made every expensive mistake in the book, and spent the last 15 years testing these old-school methods against modern alternatives. What I found, backed by university extension research from Cornell, Penn State, and Oregon State, is that the garden industry has been selling us solutions to problems that don't exist while ignoring the simple fixes that actually work. Today, I'm breaking down 7 garden center ripoffs that are bleeding your wallet dry every spring. Like number 4, those plastic plant labels that fade faster than a summer tan, costing the average gardener $50 annually when a 25-cent aluminum alternative lasts decades. And wait until you hear about number 7, that $18 calcium spray that washes off in the first rain when crushed eggshells deliver slow-release nutrition all season long for free. If you're tired of falling for garden center marketing and want to learn the money-saving secrets that actually produce better harvests, hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. I share these hard-won lessons every week so you can skip the expensive mistakes and go straight to what works. So let's get into it. Here are 7 garden store products you're wasting money on every spring, ranked from wasteful to absolutely criminal. And I'll give you the cheap, effective alternatives I've been using for years. Number 1, expensive seed starting mix, the sterile sap that stunts real growth. Back in my 3rd year of gardening, I dropped $200 on premium seed starting mixes, convinced that sterile peat perlite blends were the secret to perfect seedlings. These commercial mixes trace back to the 1950s sterile revolution, when greenhouse operations needed disease-free growing media for mass production. The problem is they're marked up significantly, from wholesale costs, with 8-quart bags hitting $15 when the actual ingredients cost pennies. University extension services have been quietly documenting what I learned the hard way. Sterile mixes can hurt germination rates for some plants. Cornell's vegetable program found that seedlings in living soil mixes showed better root development and stronger transplant survival. The reason is simple. Seeds evolved to germinate in soil teeming with beneficial microbes, not sterile laboratory conditions. Here's what most people miss. You can make superior seed starting mix for under $3 per batch using 50% sifted compost and 50% vermiculite, or aged leaf mold, from your own yard. The microbes in real compost actually boost germination rates while providing slow-release nutrition that sterile mixes can't match. I've been using this formula for 12 seasons on everything from tomatoes to basil, and my germination rates consistently beat store-bought starts. But here's the thing. The garden industry pushed sterile mixes because they could patent the formulations and create dependency. Traditional gardeners knew that living soil grows living plants, but convenience culture forgot this wisdom in favor of bagged solutions. Think of sterile seed mix as trying to raise a baby on distilled water instead of breast milk. Technically clean, but missing everything that actually nourishes growth. Number 2, slug pellets, the poisonous pest promise that kills more than slugs. I wish someone had yanked these metaldehyde-laced pellets out of my hands during my first wet spring in Zone 6. By 2005, chemical companies were raking in millions selling these silver bullets to desperate gardeners like me who were watching slugs demolish lettuce beds overnight. A single 2-pound container costs $15 to $20 and covers maybe 500 square feet if you're lucky. The hook is that instant gratification. Sprinkle them out. Wake up to dead slugs everywhere. But here's what the garden centers don't want you to know. Those pellets broadcast poison that kills birds, pets, and the beneficial ground beetles that are your natural slug patrol. University of Idaho Extension reports show metaldehyde residues linger in soil for weeks, killing non-target invertebrates in field trials. Modern science has caught up in a dramatic way. The EPA has been phasing out metaldehyde since 2020 because it shows up in waterways and harms fish populations downstream. Meanwhile, I've perfected a beer trap system that pulls slugs from my 20 by 20 vegetable patch with zero collateral damage. Here's the pro technique. Bury shallow plastic cups, level with soil at dusk, fill with 1-to-1 stale beer and water, but add a teaspoon of yeast and pinch of sugar per cup. This supercharges the carbon dioxide fermentation, drawing slugs from 10 feet away like a magnet. Refresh every 2 nights during peak season. The reason slug pellets got popular is simple. Industrial agriculture created the problem by destroying soil ecosystems, then sold the chemical fix. Diverse backyard gardens naturally suppress slug populations through predator-prey balance. Think of beer traps as hosting a party that slugs can't leave, while pellets are like carpet bombing your garden's entire food web. Number 3. Synthetic fertilizer spikes, the slow-release scam that burns roots. During my 5th season, I spent $60 on fertilizer spikes, convinced they were the set-it-and-forget-it solution for my container tomatoes. These compressed chemical cylinders became popular in the 1980s as a convenient alternative to liquid feeding, marketed to busy gardeners who wanted season-long nutrition in one application. But here's why it works against you. Those spikes create concentrated salt zones that actually burn feeder roots. Penn State Extension documented this in container trials, showing reduced root mass around spike placement sites. The synthetic salts also kill beneficial soil microbes in a radius around the spike, creating dead zones in your growing medium. What I discovered after losing half my pepper crop to spike burn is that plants prefer gentle, consistent feeding over chemical shock therapy. University research consistently shows that organic matter releases nutrients at exactly the rate plants can absorb them, without the boom-bust cycle of synthetic spikes. Here's what most people miss. You can create superior slow-release nutrition by mixing aged compost with crushed eggshells and coffee grounds directly into your planting holes. This feeds plants for months while building soil biology instead of destroying it. I've used this method on everything from roses to vegetables for 8 years, with consistently better results than any spike system. This wasn't random. It was by design. Chemical companies needed to create convenience products with higher profit margins than basic compost, so they engineered dependency on synthetic inputs while marketing them as labor-saving innovations. Think of fertilizer spikes as force-feeding your plants fast food when they're craving a home-cooked meal that nourishes them slowly and completely. Number 4. Plastic plant labels. The fading flimsy that forgets your varieties. Back in 2005, I dropped $50 on bulk plastic plant labels, thinking those little white tags would keep my heirloom tomato varieties straight through the season. By midsummer, the ink had ghosted away under UV exposure, leaving me staring at a jungle of mystery plants where I couldn't tell beefsteak from brandywine. These labels are engineered to fail fast. Even fade-resistant markers wash out because UV light breaks down the pigments within 6 months outdoors. University Extension Services note that cheap plastic labels also contribute microplastics to soil as they degrade, harming earthworms and beneficial insects long-term. The economics are brutal. The average home gardener buys new labels every year, shelling out $20 to $50 annually, while stores laugh all the way to the bank. Meanwhile, professional nursery-grade aluminum tags cost just pennies per use after the initial $10 investment and last decades with proper care. Here's the insider secret that separated me from the amateurs. Write on the textured backside of quality tags with alcohol-based CD markers, then shield them from direct UV by positioning north-facing against the soil line. This technique, used by commercial growers, extends label life significantly. But here's the thing. I've developed an even better system using aluminum strips cut from soda cans, embossed with an empty pen for permanent marking. These cost nothing, never fade, and can be cleaned and reused indefinitely. The reason cheap labels dominate is simple. Planned obsolescence drives repeat sales. Commercial seed companies and big box chains push disposable plastics because they generate ongoing revenue, burying traditional metal marking methods under aisles of convenient alternatives. Think of quality plant labels as the difference between writing your garden story in permanent ink versus disappearing pencil. One preserves your knowledge, the other erases it just when you need it most. Number 5. Plastic pot saucers, the overflow trap that breeds mosquitoes. In spring 2010, I bought a $40 flat of plastic saucers at 79 cents each, convinced they'd save my indoor seedlings from carpet stains. By week 3, standing water had turned them into mosquito factories, while constant sogginess killed half my starts with root rot. University of California. IPM confirms what I learned the hard way. Stagnant water in saucers breeds mosquito eggs, while poor drainage spikes fungal issues like Pythium, killing seedlings in controlled trials. You're essentially paying to create pest problems while destroying your plants. These saucers are dirt cheap to produce at 2 cents wholesale, but they trap overflow like a bad habit, forcing constant emptying that nobody actually does. I wasted hundreds of dollars over 5 years before discovering that proper drainage eliminates the need for saucers entirely. Here's why it works better. Layer broken terracotta pieces or crushed walnut shells at pot bases, then elevate containers on galvanized window screen over aluminum trays. Water drains laterally instead of pooling, while adding diatomaceous earth to catch trays dehydrates any larvae on contact. Modern science has caught up dramatically. Oregon State Extension tests show less root rot with this drainage method because excess moisture wicks away naturally instead of creating anaerobic conditions that kill roots. The reason saucers became standard is simple. Post-World War II, plastic manufacturers needed new markets for cheap injection-molded products, prioritizing mess-free convenience over plant health. Traditional gardeners used pot feet and gravel beds because they understood that plants need air as much as water. Think of plastic saucers as putting your plants in waterlogged boots when they need breathable shoes. Technically containing the mess, but suffocating what you're trying to protect. Number 6. Rooting hormone powder, the chemical crutch that costs more than cuttings. During my 7th season, I spent $25 on rooting hormone powder, convinced it was essential for propagating my favorite herbs and perennials. These synthetic auxin formulations became popular in commercial nurseries during the 1960s for mass propagation, but home gardeners don't need industrial-strength chemicals for basic cutting success. The dirty secret is that most easy-to-root plants like basil, mint, and willow don't need any rooting assistance. They'll root faster in plain water than in chemical-treated soil. Meanwhile, difficult subjects like roses or hardwood cuttings need more than powder can provide, requiring proper timing, humidity, and technique that no chemical can replace. Here's what the pros know but don't advertise. Willow water contains natural rooting compounds that work well for most applications. University studies show willow bark extract increases rooting success compared to untreated cuttings, while commercial powders also improve rates. But here's the thing. I've discovered that proper cutting technique matters more than any additive. Taking cuttings at dawn, when plants are fully hydrated, using sharp, clean tools, and maintaining consistent moisture produces better results than any powder treatment. Here's the method that changed everything for me. Steep fresh willow twigs in water for 24 hours to extract natural auxins, then use this solution for both soaking cuttings and watering newly planted starts. It's free, organic, and more effective than anything you can buy. This wasn't random. Chemical companies needed to create markets for synthetic plant hormones developed for industrial agriculture, convincing home gardeners they needed laboratory solutions for natural processes that plants have been doing for millions of years. Think of rooting hormone as training wheels on a bicycle that already knows how to balance. Expensive insurance for a skill that nature provides for free. If this is saving you money already, smash that like button and hit subscribe, because we're just getting to the really criminal ones. The next item alone could save you hundreds of dollars this season. Number 7. Calcium spray for blossom end rot, the Band-Aid that washes away your money. This is the big one that really gets me fired up. I fell for calcium foliar sprays my 7th spring, dropping $18 per bottle on calcium nitrate solutions, convinced they were the cure for blossom end rot on my prized Brandywine tomatoes. By the 1980s, these sprays had become a major industry with labels claiming high prevention rates. But here's what they don't tell you. Foliar calcium sprays wash off leaves quickly, with Michigan State University extension tests showing limited absorption before runoff. You're literally spraying money down the drain, while the real problem, inconsistent soil moisture and pH imbalance, goes completely unaddressed. The hook traces back to commercial tomato operations in the 1970s, where quick foliar fixes seemed easier than managing soil chemistry. But extension trials consistently show that soil-applied calcium prevents blossom end rot more effectively than spray treatments. Here's the game-changing secret I wish someone had told me 15 years ago. Crushed eggshell tea provides slow-release calcium that actually prevents the problem instead of masking symptoms. Save shells from a dozen eggs, rinse and dry them, grind to powder in a coffee grinder, then steep 1 cup in a gallon of water with a splash of vinegar for 2 weeks. Modern science has caught up in a dramatic way. This homemade solution binds calcium to clay particles in your soil, preventing the uptake blocks that cause blossom end rot in the first place. I've used this method on indeterminate varieties like Cherokee Purple for 12 seasons with minimal rot, even during inconsistent rainfall. But here's the thing. The real secret is consistent soil moisture, not calcium levels. Most soils have plenty of calcium, but drought stress prevents uptake no matter how much you spray on the leaves. The reason calcium sprays became popular is simple. They offered a quick-fix mentality that ignored soil health fundamentals. Chemical companies could sell expensive solutions to symptoms while the root cause remained profitable. Think of calcium spray as putting a Band-Aid on a broken bone, when what you really need is proper nutrition and consistent care from the ground up. Here's what I want you to remember. The garden industry makes money by convincing you that growing food is complicated and requires expensive inputs. But our grandparents grew incredible gardens with kitchen scraps, common sense, and techniques that cost practically nothing. If this video saved you from wasting money this spring, give it a thumbs up so more gardeners can find these secrets. Drop a comment below and tell me which product surprised you the most. Are you team I've been buying all of these? Team I suspected some were scams? Or team I'm making eggshell tea tonight? Don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell for more money-saving garden wisdom every week. Remember, sometimes the most powerful garden solutions aren't hiding in the fancy aisles with slick marketing and premium prices. Sometimes they're sitting in your kitchen pantry and compost pile, just waiting for you to rediscover the wisdom that's been growing great gardens for generations.